In this video, we're going to be covering how to export your WooCommerce products from your website to Google Merchant Center so that your products can show up in Google Shopping results. We're going to be using a plugin called WP All Export to accomplish this. There's actually several plugins that you can use, so in the future we may produce more videos covering those other plugins. There's really nothing I need to cover in this intro, so let's just jump right into it. Okay, to export our WooCommerce products, we are going to need a plugin and an extension for that plugin. Something to note right off the bat so you can decide if this tutorial is for you. The plugin is free, but the extension is paid, so keep that in mind. If you're looking for totally free, then this might not be the tutorial for you. Come to Plugins and click Add New. Come to Search Plugins and search WP All Export. And we are going to install this plugin right here. Okay, we have that installed. Now we need to get the extension. Perhaps the easiest way to do that is just to come into the All Export tab. And as you can see, if I select WooCommerce products, it will tell me the WooCommerce export package is required. Purchase that here. So that might be the easiest way for you to find the extension. As you can see, the price on that is $149. So up to you to decide whether it's worth it or not for you. Okay. After you've purchased it, you're going to want to download it. And then come back to your website and click on Plugins. Up here at the top, click Add New. And we want to select this option right here that says Upload Plugin. We can then choose a file and select your downloaded plugin. Then click Install Now. Go ahead and activate your plugin. Quick side note, there's actually two extensions you need to install. First of all, the WP All Export Pro, and then this one, WooCommerce Export Add-on. And the reason you need both of them is this one here is reliant on this one to function. After you have your plugin and extensions installed, click on All Export to start the export process. First, make sure that specific post type is selected, and then from choose a post type, we're going to choose WooCommerce products. This will tell us how many products are going to be exported. If we don't want to export all of our products, we can add filtering options. So for example, let's say I only wanted to export products that have a product ID under 134. So I would click on ID. From select rules, I would do equal to or less than, and then value, I would put in 134. Add rule. Now, as you can see, only 7 products will be exported, and those are the products with IDs that are 134 or under. You can add multiple filtering rules if you would like. So let's say that I only wanted products between 134 and 130. I could do ID equal to or greater than 130 and add that. And now it will only export products that are between 130 and 134. You also have these and or operators over here that will allow you to choose how your rules work together. Once you've done any filtering, go ahead and click Customize Export File. On this page, click Export Type, and we want to select Feed. Then from this drop-down menu, select Google Merchant Center Product Feed. So here we have a list of all of the data fields that will be exported to Google Merchant Center. And we can decide what kind of data we want to populate these fields with. So you'll see on each one of these fields, there is a default setting or there is a custom data setting. If we click on custom data, it brings up this little field here, and we can drag and drop all of this available data into this field to create whatever we want. So for the item title, we could use the existing product title, or let's say that for some reason, I don't know why you'd want to do this, but for sake of argument, let's say that you wanted the title of the products in Google Merchant Center to include both the title and the ID. You could accomplish that by just dragging in title and ID. And now it will export both the title and the ID as the item titles. So just go through these lists and decide whether you just want to use the default data or if you would like to use custom data. And if you do, simply select custom data and then drag and drop the data you want to use into that field. This process will basically be the same for the majority of these categories here that we'll be filling out. But I do want to talk about this one really quick called product categories. So within WooCommerce, you have categories that help you organize your products. So for example, we have books, house decor, and software. Google also has product categories that it uses to help organize products. And sometimes the categories that you have on your WooCommerce site and the categories that Google have are not exactly the same. So we need to map the categories we have on our site to the closest thing that Google has. So we can click and begin typing in what we think the closest category would be. And that will bring up the available Google product categories. So for books, I would want to select here, media, and then books. For house decor, here we have home and garden and decor. So I'm going to select that. And then software and computer software. Great. Once you have gone through and you've filled out all of these data fields, click Continue. Okay, from here, we are going to click right here where it says Confirm and Run Export. Our next step is going to be fetching this export with Google Merchant Center. Okay, we are going to click on this link right here, which will take us to Google Merchant Center. If you don't have an account, it's going to ask you to set one up. Now, as you can see, I've got some issues, and there may be some issues as I walk through this because I'm not actually selling these products. These aren't real products. This website is a demo site, so there might be some issues, but the process will be the same. So come to products. And you can see there's an option to add products one by one, but we want to upload multiple products. So we're going to click See All Methods. Select the country of sale as well as the language. And click Continue. And we are going to do a scheduled fetch. Put in the primary feed name, and I'm going to name this Test Feed, and continue. Here we can give it a name, product export. That is what it is named on my website. And then we can specify how often we want Google Merchant Center to fetch our export from our website. If you have it scheduled on your website so that your export automatically updates itself, then it is a good idea to set the fetch time for a little while after that scheduled export time. So for example, if your export is scheduled to update at 12 o'clock a.m. every day, then you would maybe want to set your fetch time to 1 o'clock a.m. every day. That way, that export has time to finish exporting before Google Merchant Center tries to fetch it. Here we have the file URL, and we're going to come here. As you can see, this page now looks different because I accidentally left the page and then navigated back to this data. But we are going to grab this export feed URL, copy that, and paste it here. Now, if the URL is password protected, then you can provide your login information. Mine's not, so we will click Create Feed. Okay, so it took a little while, but Google Merchant Center fetched the feed from my website. So as you can see, I now have a feed with 5 products in it. If I click on that feed, you can see we have 5 products. As you can see, they all have a lot of problems because they're not real products, so they're missing a lot of information. But this process will work. The process is the same. It's just that I'm not uploading real products, so obviously it doesn't like that. If we want to remove a feed, we can just come here to the Feeds tab, hover over it, and you can see it will have this trash icon. We can just click that and remove that feed. All right, the last thing that we should talk about really quick is how to schedule your export to automatically update itself, or in other words, perform another export. So the reason you might want to do this is, let's say you updated some of your products that are within the export. You want your export to update itself so that Google Merchant Center then has access to that updated information, so that you don't have a discrepancy between the information being shared on Google Merchant Center and the information on your actual website. So to do that, come to All Exports and then Manage Exports, and that'll bring up a list of all of your exports you have. Over on the right-hand side, you'll see scheduling options. Go ahead and click on that. Now we have 3 options here. Do not schedule. So this is if you just want to run your exports by clicking this button, Run Export. So you can just do it completely manually if you want. Your next option is automatic scheduling. So this is a handy feature inside of here. However, it is a paid service. So it is up to you on whether or not you want to pay for this service. But basically, you would just select the days of the week you want your export to run on. So you can select all of them if you want, or just a single day. It's up to you. And then select what time or times of the day you want that export to run. And our last option here is manual scheduling. So this will allow you to set up scheduling like this. However, it's free, but you have to use cron jobs. Now that might sound a little bit intimidating if you're kind of a beginner to WordPress and building websites and whatnot, but it's not overly complicated. If you don't want to do it yourself, what you can do is contact your hosting provider and ask them to set up these cron jobs for you. The documentation for WP All Export has a nice pre-written email that you can send to your hosting provider asking them to set up these cron jobs. So I will link to that page that has that email down in the description below. That documentation will also walk you through setting up these URLs if you want to do it yourself. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, something to note, we are using Cloudways to host this website. A lot of you probably will not be using Cloudways. So depending on who your hosting provider is, the process for setting up cron jobs might be different. Many of you may be able to access your servers using something called cPanel. And just a heads up, setting up cron jobs on Cloudways versus using cPanel to set up your cron jobs is a little bit different. However, there is quite a bit of documentation out on the internet for setting up cron jobs on cPanel. Just look that up. So to do it on Cloudways, I'm going to come to Applications and then select my website. And then I will come down to cron job management in the sidebar here. And now I can add a new cron job. Now we need to set up 2 cron jobs for our website. We need to set up the trigger cron job and the processing cron job. We will set up the trigger cron job first. Now the trigger cron job, we can schedule that to run whenever we want. So if we want our export to update once a day, then we will set our trigger cron job to run once a day. If we want the export to run once a week, then we'd set our trigger cron job to run once a week. So I'm going to set this to run once a day right here. And this should be running at 12 o'clock midnight once a day. Then I need to put in the cron job command. So I'm going to change this to wget. So come here and we are going to copy the trigger URL and paste it right here. Then click submit. Okay, now we need to set up our processing cron job. And WP All Export recommends that you set your processing cron job to run every 2 minutes. So we will come here and do add new cron job. And it looks like Cloudways does not have an option for every 2 minutes. So I will just come here and go every 2 minutes. And then set this. Okay, there we go. So now this is set to run every 2 minutes. Then I will come here and we need to copy and paste this processing URL. Right here and click submit. Okay, now we have our 2 cron jobs set up and ready to go. Okay, so now every day at midnight, this product export will be updated. Now one last note, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, but you want to set up the Google Merchant Center fetch time to be just a little bit later than your product export update time. So since we set this to update at midnight, we might want to set the fetch time on Google Merchant Center to be a little bit later. So I think on Google Merchant Center we set it for 1 o'clock. That way this export has time to finish before Google Merchant Center tries to fetch it. Alright, well that is how you go about exporting products from your site to Google Merchant Center. If you need an awesome website, check us out at the link in the description. If you found this video to be helpful and you want more videos on WordPress, WooCommerce, and all things about building websites, feel free to subscribe, like, and share this video, and I will see you next time.